You already know how the chess pieces move, but somebody told you to come watch this video. What if I told you there is a special move where the king moves not one, but two squares, and two pieces move at once, and one of the pieces moves through another piece. And this is a move that even grandmasters have questions about. This is a very special move. It's a special move called castling. Let's look at the move itself, and then we'll talk about when you want to do it, and then we'll talk about when you can do it. So first, the move itself. When you castle, the king moves two squares, 1, 2, towards the rook, and the rook teleports through the king to the other side of the king, to this square right here next to the king. All right, so let's undo that. You can also castle to the other side. Let's do it on the black. It'll go 1, 2 squares. King always moves 2 squares towards the rook, and the rook teleports through the king to the other side of the king. All right. Sometimes people make a mistake when they're castling to the queen side. This is the queen side, right? Because the queen's here and the king's here. This is the king side over on E, F, G, H, and the queen side is in A, B, C, D. So when we're castling to the queen side, this is the wrong way to do it. Let me just show you. 1, 2, 3 squares, and then the rook goes over here. So this looks right when we're done, but this isn't a legal position. The king can only move 2 squares when we're castling. All right, so that's what castling looks like. There are some special rules about when you're allowed to castle, though. Neither the king nor the rook can have moved earlier in the game. If they have, no castling involved. If the king moved, no castling. If the rook moved, no castling. You can't have any pieces between the king and the rook. I guess that sort of makes sense, right? Because you'll crash into them. And the last one is kind of interesting. You can't castle out of check. You can't castle into check. And you can't castle through check. Now, what does that mean? That means that if there is a rook, let's say there's a rook here, pointing at this square, okay, because this rook is pointing at this square, I can't castle like this because while the king was passing over this square, he was in check. Okay? Similar thing, if the king is in check, no castling involved, either side. Okay? If the target square, of course, now this is sort of an always thing. You can never end a move in check. This is kind of the primary rule in chess. No ending the move in check. If you do, it's not even a situation where you can just take the king. You can't do that. If your opponent makes a move that ends in check, you have to tell them, no, 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 you can't do that. You have to take that move back. And then they get to make another move with whatever piece they try to move with. All right, so once again, both the king and the rook that you're trying to castle with cannot have moved earlier. No pieces between the two pieces that are castling. And you can't castle into, out of, or through check. All right, one last thing. At the school where I teach, we play with touch rules, meaning that if you touch a piece, you have to move it. So for that reason, I say that when they castle, they should always move the king first. Because if you move a king 2 squares, the only thing you could possibly be doing is castling, right? And if it's not a legal position to castle, okay, then you'll have to move your king. But if you move your rook first, I've just made a move. See that? The rook can move all these squares towards the king, and that's a legal move. So always move the king first. That way you avoid getting into arguments. Now, I know there are some of you out there who are going to be the kind of person that argues and says, hey, you touched your rook first. You have to move the rook. You can't castle. Don't be like that, okay? If the guy wants to castle and he moved his rook first, let him castle. It's perfectly reasonable. So I'm playing both sides of this. A, you should touch your king first and move that. B, if somebody does it wrong, don't call him on it. Some frequently asked questions about castling. Can you castle if the rook is being attacked? Think about it. Yes, you can. Can you castle if the square the rook goes through is being attacked? Yes, you can. Can you castle if the king has been checked earlier in the game? Yes, you can. You can castle if the king has been checked earlier in the game, as long as the king has not moved. Another frequently asked question is, why do you want to castle? Well, let's see what it looks like with pawns. All right, here we go. Here's some pawns. So now, when we castle, we're going to be, here, watch this. Move the king in here. Now we've got a wall of pawns, 1, 2, 3 pawns, all being protected by the king, and the king is being protected by the pawns. If you try to attack through here, no, there's no way to check the guy. Okay? And now, look at this. The rook is also active. Well, we have to make a move for the black side here. We'll castle the other side. Right? And now I bring the rook out. These rooks are connected. These rooks are connected. They are in the game, very active, ready to go down the middle of the board and crush your opponent. Okay, so the castling is primarily about king safety. Chess is about capturing the king, right, or getting the king. And if your king is safe, then you're not going to lose. So you have a better chance of winning if you don't lose. Right, so let's take a look at some more pieces on the board. No, I don't want to save this. All right. Some more pieces on the board. So now the question is, can white castle to the king's side? What do you think? Pause the video if you need to. All right, what did you say? Did you say that, yes, he can castle to the king's side? You would be wrong, because the bishop is attacking this f1 square, so you can't castle through check. Anytime you castle, you have to have all 3 of these squares available to you. Can white castle queenside? Yes, there's no problem there, so we'll castle queenside. How about black? Can black castle queenside? No, the queen is attacking this square. You can't castle through check. So we'll go to the other side. All right. Okay. Now this game was played by 2 grandmasters, really the strongest players in the world at the time, Viktor Korchnoi and Anatoly Karpov, or Anatoly. I'm not sure how his name is actually pronounced. I think it's Anatoly Karpov. Karpov was world champion at the time. Korchnoi was often a challenger for the world champion. Anyway, they got to a position sort of like this. Well, not exactly like this. It was exactly like this. And Karpov was black. He took Korchnoi's bishop. Okay, and Korchnoi, I'm not going to go into the analysis of this game, thought, my rook is being attacked. I don't really like having my king on this square. Maybe if I castle, it'll be good. But he wasn't sure that he was allowed to castle while his rook was being attacked. So he got up, went over to the tournament director and asked, may I castle in this position? And the tournament director said, yeah, you can. So Korchnoi sat down. He moved his king over here. He moved the rook to the other side. And 2 moves later, Karpov resigned. We won't go into why. Point being, 2 things here. First off, even grandmasters are not always sure. So that's kind of cool that you can, if you don't know something, that's okay. As long as you get up and ask. And that's the second bit. If you're unsure of something in a tournament situation, don't touch your pieces. Get up, ask the tournament director if you can make the move that you think that you want to make. All right. Let's have a little quiz here. All right, we're going to play a sample game. Okay, e4, e5. We're just taking control of the center here. Bishop c4. Oh, we're attacking the f7 square. Knight f6. All right, interesting. Okay, now first quiz time. Can white castle in this position? Pause your video if you need to. No, white cannot castle. Okay, there's a piece in the way. You can't move on to another piece. All right, so we'll move that piece out. Knight f3. All right. Now, can black castle to the king's side? No, because there's a piece there. We've been over that. All right. Who's going to move the queen out? I don't know why. Knight c3. B6. B6. Oh, he's going to fianchetto, isn't he? Queen e2. Queen e2. And there you go. Fianchettos. Putting the bishop on the long diagonal. Okay, puzzle 3. Can white castle to the queen side? No, there's a piece in the way. You can't castle if there's any pieces in between the king and the rook. How about to the king side? Yes, he can, but he's not going to. d3 is what he's going to do. Knight c6. Who's making these moves? Jeez, these aren't very good moves. Bishop e3. All right. Bishop a6. Oh, that's interesting. He moved his bishop again. You don't want to move your piece twice during the opening. Always try to get your piece exactly where you want it and then leave it there. Bishop takes a... Ooh, look especially at that. You just hung up the bishop. Okay, here's another question. Can black castle to the king side? Well, no, there's still a bishop in the way, and he can't get out because there's a queen in the way and a pawn in the way, so that bishop is stuck for a while. How about to the queen side? Can black castle to the queen side? Well, no, because then the king would end up in check, and you can never end a move in check. All right. Next move, rook b8. Rook b8. Okay, so it moves here. b4. All right, can black castle to the queen side now? Well, even if he wasn't going to end up in check, no, because now the rook has moved. You can't castle with a piece that has already moved. Queen takes b4. Whose move is it? It's black's move. Queen takes b4. Oh, he took the pawn. All right, can white castle to the queen side? Yes, even though this square is being attacked by the queen, we could castle to the queen side if we want to. We're not going to. Can we castle king side? Yes, of course, no problem. Okay, a3. He's going to attack the queen, and queen's going to take the knight here. Oh boy, now we've got a fork attacking the king and the rook at the same time. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Can white... that would really be good if we could just castle. You can put the king there and the rook there, and now both pieces are safe. But you're not allowed to castle out of check. Can you castle the king side? No, he's in check. You can't castle out of check. Okay, so we're going to have to get out of check somehow. Bishop d2. Queen takes rook. Can we castle now? Oh, that would also be really good if we could castle and put the king there and put the rook there attacking the queen. Not allowed to do that. Nope. Okay, queen d1. So queen's going to move here, interpose. Queen takes a3. Last puzzle. Can black... Oh, no. Can white castle to the king side? Yes, now he can because he's no longer in check. All right, so that's our little lesson about castling. King moves 2 squares towards the rook, always 2 squares. Rook goes to the other side. Neither the king nor the rook can have moved earlier. You can't castle through check, into check, or out of check. And I think that about covers it. All right, go play chess. Bye.